Today's secret word is foibles. Foibles.
Picture the scene. You witness a robbery. You see the getaway car, the clothes on the criminals, the weapons they are carrying. You're certain you've got it all locked in, so you tell the police everything. But weeks later, you see the security footage and a chilling realization hits you. The car was a totally different colour. The weapons, not as you remembered, and a key event that you swore was true never even happened. This isn't one of those weird what ifs. It's a very real demonstration of how your own mind can cook up a memory of something that wasn't there. So if you can't trust your own eyes, what can you trust?
Psychology. Made. Simple.
Editing Dex here. I forgot to mention when I was recording, if you stick around to the end, you're going to get an opportunity to take part in a psychological experiment all of your own. One of my favourite psychology experiments. Stick around to the end. It's worth it. I'm a neurospicy psych major on the long road to PhD. You can call me Dex. And this 30,000 foot view of the subject is designed to inform and hopefully inspire you to want to learn more. And with this episode, there's an awful lot more to learn. So why can't you trust your senses? Well, for a start, they're kind of lying to you. You might think that you see the world, but in reality, your brain is collecting incomplete, noisy data and filling in the blanks using prior experience, beliefs, and context. This is called predictive processing. Your brain constantly predicts what it expects to see in a given situation and only corrects itself if something looks drastically off. Ever fallen for an optical illusion like the Muller lion illusion? That's not a trick. It's your brain running its usual shortcuts and getting it wrong. But if we don't see the world as it really is, how can we be sure that we're remembering it accurately? Like 3 stages to how our memory works. First, you witness an event or stimulus and your brain must encode it, i.e. you pay attention to it. You then store that event or stimulus in memory. Later, you retrieve it. Each of these stages is flawed. You might miss a key detail while focusing on something else. And any gaps in that memory will be filled in based on your expectations, on memories, on your mood, on social pressure. So every time you recall that memory, you risk rewriting it with added or altered information. So in that way, when we view the usual metaphor of our memory like as a video recorder, storing everything safely so we can pull up the information, pull out that recording as and when we need it, it's no longer accurate. It's more appropriate to say that when we need to pull up a memory, our brain essentially paints it from scratch, using scraps of real events, imagination, and emotion. Obviously, this makes our memories deeply unreliable, especially when we're under pressure. That's why eyewitness testimonies are famously flawed. In fact, due to the brain's habit of filling in blanks, recalling a memory repeatedly can make it less accurate. Your painting gets less and less detailed, so the brain fills in blanks with guesses, context, suggestions. Crazy, right?
Yes, my peeps. It's your boy, cool baby Dex, keeping it real like Ian Beale eating cheese by the wheel, with Shaquille O'Neal slipping on banana peel, spitting bars of Sheffield steel, glockenspiel. I rap with zeal, I don't congeal, blowing up with a gigaton yield, slurping down facts like jelly deals. My cue ball noggin has curb appeal. Did you know rapping makes learning easier? It helps with diction and alleviates stutters. The Rhymes with Reason app uses hip-hop to teach vocabulary, inference, theme, tone, and connotation. Yes, bruv, the power of street knowledge in it. Hip-hop can even help children overcome reservations when learning maths, and there's accounts of the power of rhyme in developing critical thinking. For reals, yo. Rap is also good for mental health, building confidence, creativity, and self-esteem, and promoting self-expression. Now I got a chip. I'm meeting MC 900-foot Jesus for tea and cream cakes. Most pleasant.
Psychologist and intellectual powerhouse Elizabeth Loftus showed that memories are malleable. In a classic experiment, she was able to implant false memories in participants just by suggesting details. Participants in the experiment watched a car crash and were asked how fast the cars were going when they hit or smashed. That one word changed their memories of the event. The more extreme the language, the more extreme and important the memory. So be sure to smash that like button.
My guy, why do you have to be so cringe?
So if our memories are really this
Bumberclot.
So if our memories are really this unstable, why do courts still rely on eyewitness testimony? Even today, with advances in modern forensic science, eyewitness testimony is still considered the gold standard of criminal evidence. Yet despite what courtroom dramas might tell you, eyewitnesses are shockingly unreliable. The Innocence Project reports that over 70% of wrongful convictions overturned by DNA evidence involved mistaken eyewitnesses. And studies show 1 in 3 people misidentify suspects in photo lineups.
You got the wrong guy, I'm the dude!
Now adding the pressure from police, poor lighting, stress, racial bias and weapon focus, and the odds of getting it right drop even further. Even trained professionals like police officers, military, pilots, they're not immune. In fact, police officers tend to be no more accurate than civilians in lineups, just more confident. Reports from expert observers such as pilots, soldiers, medical professionals, often cited when something strange or inexplicable is seen, are not necessarily any more reliable than reports made by you or I. Why? Because in spite of their technical knowledge and real-world experience, their senses and brains work the same as ours, and as such they're victim to the same shortcomings and foibles. Human vision breaks down in low light, high altitude and stressful conditions. So for example, phenomena like autokinesis, where a stationary light seems to move, are common causes of UFO reports. Plus the top-down processing that happens in the brain means that once someone believes something is a UFO, their brain starts filling in the blanks to match those beliefs. And again, the brain of the professional works just the same as ours. They are just as susceptible to confirmation bias and perceptual distortion. But there is, of course, 10% of UFO sightings which remain unexplained. In one notable experiment, people shown meaningless dot patterns still confidently reported seeing objects. Because essentially our brains are problem-solving machines. They're designed to connect the dots, even when the dots are meaningless or lack any real connection. Our brains need to find meaning and order, even if it's not really there, just like we discussed in our past episode on conspiracy theories. This tendency to see patterns in randomness is called apophenia. It's why we see animals in clouds, faces on slices of toast, or hear satanic messages when we play Led Zeppelin records backwards.
They're not really there.
And in situations of extreme stress or uncertainty, when order and safety are really important, that tendency to connect non-existing dots skyrockets. Even though we know our brain makes mistakes, both when we're perceiving events and recalling events, we still believe it. Why? Because confidence feels like truth. The less we know, for some of us at least, the more confident we need to feel. This is a phenomenon known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. But that's for another episode. On top of that, we fall for confirmation bias, native realism, and hindsight bias, reinforcing whatever we think we saw or knew. So what's the takeaway here? Your brain isn't built to show you reality. It's built to show you what you need to survive. Fast, dirty guesses with a whole lot of fiction thrown in. But the more you understand the imperfect nature of all our perceptions, and you understand the glitches, the better you get at spotting them in yourself and in others. At the end of this video, I'm going to put a link to another YouTube video, an experiment in selective attention, a very famous experiment. So if you've done this before, if you know how it works, no spoilers. So go over there, do the experiment, come back and tell me in the comments just how you did. And while you're down there sharing the results of your experiment, maybe share a time when you remembered something perfectly, only to find out later you were completely wrong. Have you ever fallen victim of the Mandela effect? I appreciate you sticking around until the end, so please like and subscribe. Now, go do psychology.
Please like and subscribe, you legend.